Welcome to the Nairobi Health Show. I'm here today with Steve Wiltshire. Steve, thanks for coming on the show.
Glad to be here, my friend. I love your podcast. You're rocking it, making a huge impact. Can't wait to share more people with you. And well done.
Oh, thanks so much. And thank you for coming on the show. You've got a great story. I'm fascinated to dig into it. And I'm familiar with it a little bit, but to hear it from your own mouth and what you've been through, and I think there's a lot of people that need to hear your message. So vice versa, likewise, glad to have you on the show. I think you've got a really important message. And for those of you out there who don't know who Steve is, let me just read this quick bio that I prepared. I mostly want to hear his story from himself, but we'll just give you a snippet here so you get a feel for Steve. He's been in the fitness, health, and mindset world for 3 decades. After winning the Mr. Oregon bodybuilding competition, Steve developed an autoimmune disease that originated from a serious gut complication that almost ruined his health. A variety of experts failed him, but after 18 months, Steve healed himself by following the philosophy and wellness practices taught by the Hippocrates Institute in Southern Florida. Did I pronounce that right, Steve?
You sure did, my friend.
Okay, fantastic. Through his journey, he's developed a process that has led him to assisting thousands of people to reclaim their own health and power. He's a keynote speaker, an author, a mindset coach, and the founder of Body, Temple, Health, and Wellness. So you went from being a bodybuilder, looking great, winning the competition, Mr. Oregon, what from the outside looks like tremendous health and a great achievement physically.
And it can look like that for everyone, but it often what you go through in learning from experts in bodybuilding does not sustain age. I'm 57 years old. I have never felt better in my life. In fact, I thought you'd be able to see this on the screen, but I thought I'm going to talk a lot about live greens. I'm going to talk a lot about sprouting and what that means. And there's just so much that people don't understand about the simplicity of health and because I don't like a lot of complications. I've always been that way. I've got a lot going on in my life, being an entrepreneur, coach, and speaker for many years, and being extremely busy, flying around the US, doing what I love to do. And I just liked simple. And I think the good Lord led me to, I just didn't eat produce for many, many years, and
right.
And then kind of, life has a way of balancing itself. And all of a sudden, it's like 90% of what I suck down my mouth. Right.
Yeah. Do I picture here, the muscly guy in the 80s putting 6 eggs in a blender and some protein powder. Right? Was that you?
Oh, geez. So true. You've been there, right? You get it.
I mean, we're a similar age. I turn 56 next month.
And you look fantastic.
Thanks a lot, Steve. But both of us have been through an unbelievable evolution in the world of diet and fitness and disease. Everything, many of the things we were raised with were backwards, right? We learned so
100%.
many crappy things. But now let's hear from you. When did your fitness journey start? At what age did you become interested in lifting weights?
Good question. Great coaching. And this is, when I train or I speak or I'm in an interview, I'm always focused on the end user. I'm focused on the person that I can impact. And I was brought up by a father that was semi-pro. He just did phenomenal in sports in college. I was not that athletic one. I was the middle one. And both my brothers were athletic, and he would joke about it. And I would laugh, and he would joke. He's just like, what happened? Did I get the wrong baby in the hospital? And so I just grew up noticing that I just felt this pressure all the time, and I didn't respond to it. I just went with it and felt, this absence of esteem. And ironically, I ended up becoming this very successful entrepreneur about 19. And I was at this entrepreneur convention, and I'm with about 6,000 participants in the audience. And Patricia Fripp, who's from London, was the keynote speaker. And she looked at the audience at the very end. She said, I have 3 minutes with you, and I have a question for you. And she paused for a minute. The whole auditorium was silent. And she said, what are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of? And I wrote, I hate my body.
Hmm.
And I made a decision to come home before my reunion. I had 6 months and to get in shape. And so, really esteem is an internal process. Esteem is loving yourself. It's liking how you think. It's loving how you handle conflict. It's loving the decisions you make, regardless of the pressure around you. Basically, it's defined by you. And so, ironically, my esteem developed from the external to the internal through a period of time. And so here I hired this trainer and ended up working with his wife, who was a top 10 Miss Olympia. And one thing that I learned is I learned the power of focus. And I thought it was ironic that I had gotten in, tremendous shape in just this short period of time, and my income increased, my focus increased. And so I just stayed on that bandwagon until things changed for me when I actually ended up with this autoimmune condition. Yeah.
Interesting. But there you are on the podium, Mr. Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time you weren't aware, or did you have signs then that something was wrong? That on the outside you looked terrific, but on the inside there was problems.
Yeah. I was, everybody that had known me up until that point, I'm 44 years old at that point. And Dave, everybody that's known me would say I just modeled perfect health or ideal health, mentally, spiritually, physically. Before I contracted this autoimmune, everything that I thought I was doing was great. I was following these experts. Everything seemed great. And then I had no signs leading up to it. I remember being with my son. He was 12 years old at the time, and we're in a vegan restaurant. And all of a sudden, I am so bloated, I feel like I need to go into urgent care. And I'm like, damn, man, what's the matter with me? And
Wow.
I put my shirt up. My son looked at me and goes, dude, what happened to your abs? I said, oh, no, I feel like I need to go to the hospital. I called my doctor the next day, got into an appointment, had my blood work back, and my panels done. And then I was normal. Everything looked tremendous. And I thought, this is bad news. Like, what is happening to me? And in this moment, I wanted to share with all of you, when you know there's something wrong and your blood work comes back normal, you're in the midst of manifesting a disease. And that is the time that you are in the grace period. And when you're in the grace period, you can make choices that can change so that you don't manifest that. And the good news is his mom had been on this journey of healing herself from 3rd stage breast cancer. No chemo, no radiation, no surgery.
This is your doctor?
No, this is my son's mom.
Your son's mom. Okay.
My son's mom. Yeah. So my son's mom is my business partner, my recent wife, my first wife, I'd say. And she is my very best friend. We are just completely close. She's my partner with Body Temple Health and Wellness. And she's my partner with my other brand called Lifeline Coaching and Education. But I was so wrapped up in her dying. I remember thinking, I can't really tell her how I feel, but is she going to live? Is she going to leave our 12-year-old? She could just go get a mastectomy. But she started on this journey and she ended up healing herself from 3rd stage cancer, not once, but twice. And so when I got sick, that was the first place that I went. And Lynn follows she is this highly evolved person now. She is been on this path for so many years. She's so conscious, so dialed in. And so she led me down this journey. And she's 100% sprouts, plant-based, the whole bit. And so what I want you to hear is that it's for her, the trump card has been her mother's family has had cancer. She had 8 siblings. Her mother had 8 siblings. They all died of cancer. Lynn was 12. Her 21-year-old.
They all 8 died of cancer?
All 8 died of cancer. So there's massive cancer. Grand died of cancer. So in her mind, a lot of what we're going to talk about is mindset. She was young and she grew up thinking cancer was a normal thing. We
Mm.
often manifest what we think. Thoughts held in mind reproduce in like kind. Where the mind goes, we often follow. And limiting beliefs become our true north. Whatever that is that we believe, we often manifest. I'm a mindset coach. I have worked with some of the most successful entrepreneurs that have just been life changing, watching them diminish these diminished beliefs and to become these high powered people that have made a huge impact in the lives of thousands, in some cases, millions of people, all by elevating their mindset. And so after I shifted from doctors to healers, I mean, they were disguised as naturopaths, but they were healers. I realized I had this autoimmune disease and it was celiacs, but I had this tremendous amount of candida that was so
Now, what
difficult.
what year was this, Steve?
Okay, so I'm going back about 12 years ago.
I'm
And
kind of
so
surprised that you couldn't get a celiac diagnosis 12 years ago. You would think that would.
it came back not through my doctor. And that's the interesting part. When you think of getting blood work done with a doctor, Western
Yeah,
medicine
yeah,
versus a naturopath, I have even, I mean, I'm going back about 4 years ago, but I had a doctor and a naturopath, and I just never saw my doctor. And I went in and he said, let's do some blood work. And I happened to be going to see my naturopath. And I thought, geez, I can't believe I'm going to get blood work twice in one day. I'm going to use one arm or the other arm. And I
right.
couldn't believe the variation. I fasted, no food. I mean, I went back
Yeah.
to back, 7 a.m. and 8:30. And even the tests were off. Like it made no sense to me. But what I can tell you about working with a naturopath is that they have more extensive, we'll say, test results, and they have more ability to get more extensive. I mean, these labs are just not accurate.
Yeah. They
So
pull a different panel too, right? Like
they
your
do.
doctor does the yearly physical and they want to figure out your cholesterol.
They
They want to
do.
know for men your testosterone, for women your
Yeah,
estrogen is really important. And then there's all these other markers that they think are very important. And of course they have a place. I'm not saying that
absolutely. Of
those
course.
tests are
Absolutely.
irrelevant.
Hmm.
But when I go to Lifomic and do the tests that I do every 6 months,
Hmm.
it is a completely different test than what my doctor does. I still do my yearly physical.
Yeah,
I mean, why not? It's
absolutely.
free. And I do get some good data from that.
But there were
Uh,
similar tests that were absolutely had a definite variable. Like
oh, interesting. Okay.
I was just like shocked by that.
Okay.
And I want to say it's so important to get your blood work done at least every 6 months, if not every 3 months, and being so tapped into your body. When you are listening to your body, you're going to realize that you are guided by your body. I can tell when I'm off, and it can happen just by simply stepping into meditation. You start to quiet your mind and you start to tap into your body. I mean, you have a soul. I don't care whatever you call it. You can call it your higher self. You can call it Jesus. You can call it your creator. You can call it the universe. But that has been my greatest journey since I healed myself. I am directed with thoughts every single day. I can simply ask a question and I get an immediate answer. And let's just stay here. When you think of transformation, all transformation happens in environments. If you have a marriage that's gone south, you don't just wish it to get better. You often find a counselor. You go to Marriage Encounter. You maybe go to your church and you dive into some kind of marriage course, or you do an online course. Your transformation will happen in that environment. But why don't we have an environment? Why don't most of us have an environment for the hub of our life? What does that mean? That means to step into a daily time in the morning. Nobody gets my morning but my creator. Even in these 70, 80, 90-hour weeks that I've had the last 3 weeks, just launched the whole coaching program, just a lot happening. I still take that time in the morning. What do? I do a meditation, often a guided meditation. And you can go to YouTube, it's your friend. You can find guided meditations, but I read affirmations that I want to train my brain how to think. And we all have 4 commonalities: physical, relational, spiritual, and financial/career. And when you start to train your brain how to think, you start noticing your yeses come clear, your nos come clear. and you start to believe it. What is manifestation? It's when desire and belief match. So often desire is easy. It's easy to have desire, and we go through the contrast of life, having these wanted and wanted conditions. And then in all of that, when you train your brain to think, oh, interesting, I don't want that. Then what do I want? What am I going to place my attention on? And I can remember even a time when after I healed myself, I just decided I'm just not going to drink anymore. And I could not go into environments where there was alcohol. And I remember thinking, I don't have an alcohol problem. What's the deal with that? And then when I started studying serotonin and I started studying dopamine, it's a thing. What is a habit? It's when the body becomes the mind. And it wasn't really the alcohol. It was that I had very few activities a month where I would spend time with friends. And I would be around. And when I did, I was elevated. The state, I took my time getting ready. I played music. For 20 years, I was used to playing music, having my favorite glass of wine. And so when I would go in these environments, I would cave. So what did I do? I wrote an affirmation that said, I don't meet friends in environments that promote alcohol until I can. And I wouldn't.
Let me stop you there, Steve. You said two. Sorry to cut you off, but you've said two things that I want to touch on a little bit deeper.
Please.
And let's put the alcohol one on hold for just a minute, because I'd like to explore that a little bit more. But first of all, your morning routine. Mm-hmm. I share a habit of meditation with you, and my routine is daily, 20 minutes. I usually do an hour on Sundays, and I go to retreats. Now, the retreats have been pretty much off for the last 2 years. So I've really missed that, but I hope to be able to go again soon. Now, and interestingly, Steve, to support what you're saying here, a guest I had on my show just a couple of weeks ago said that she struggled with weight loss for, I believe, 20 years. I can't remember exact time frame, but it was a long, difficult time. And the key that unlocked her weight loss was 2 sessions of meditation a day. When she started meditating morning and afternoon, the weight came off. And I've heard stories like this, and like you've been sharing many times, but I find that in the what's that?
I love this conversation because it's true. You have to retreat. I have a faith, and regardless, faith is having belief in something that you don't have evidence. That's the general term, right? But I pray in affirmations. Thank you for this. And I have even trained in them. Especially lately, it has just been packed. And I still retreat when I know I need to reboot and I'm not in my highest, greatest form of capacity.
Okay, so nuts and bolts. This morning,
yes.
Guided meditation.
Yes.
What'd you do?
5:30. I actually did a supercharger bath with magnesium, essential oils, and tapped into what I call food grade peroxide. It just oxidates your body. I listened to a guided meditation by Abraham Hicks.
Okay.
And then after that, primed means cold shower. And then I sat down and started to read my affirmations for the day.
Okay.
And then got clear about what I wanted to focus on. I was choosing an attribute that I want to own. So I actually had a tremendous amount of anxiety in the morning. And I said, my word for today is grounded. And I write it on my hand and I focus on being grounded. So if you wake up and you feel out of sorts, sometimes you don't know where your subconscious was during that sleep. And then when you identify with your emotions, like how am I feeling? Often the attribute that I'll choose for the day is often different than how I felt. Sometimes I'll wake up and just focus on gratitude or appreciation. And so once again, you're training your brain how to think. But I even think about like my high standards for my team. I was at one point in my career, got 2 brands, several coaches, big team. And I remember thinking, I'm going to push them away, this committed group of people that work for me. And I came up with my affirmation, and that was, people matter more than things. And I would catch myself constantly when I wanted to respond or react. People matter more than things. People matter more than things. Yeah.
Interesting. Any other, you mentioned YouTube and how YouTube is your friend. Any other favorite teachers that you have or guides that you refer people to or that you enjoy on a regular
Oh
basis?
gosh, there's so many. But I would say just searching, I mean, especially guided meditations, get familiar with what's out there, and then you start to save them and you're aware as far as, I mean, I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks. I just think that
Okay.
Esther Hicks, her ability to help people with deliberate creation is just over the top. It's like just even to study her in a platform when she's coaching people. I mean, her words come out so quick and she's so tuned in and tapped in. And this is what I mean about your inner guidance system or your soul. When you start to notice your ability to listen to that still small voice, which is like that part of you that's just very innocent, you're guided. You're guided every single minute. I mean, in even the most trivial things, I can't believe how I'm guided. Yeah, I'd like to actually talk a little bit about the actual disease, gut health, and
Yeah. Let's go back to that. So physically, we've talked a little bit about metaphysics and whatnot and got current,
yeah,
but yeah, I'd like to go back to that too. So you had the incident, you
yeah.
got some blood work done, you had a few different experts that couldn't help you, but then what was the breakthrough, Steve?
Well, first of all, I want to say that what what I learned through this whole process is that, I mean, for 70% of what I believe got me sick was supplementation and these radical meal plans. So I was on these radical meal plans. I'm 44 years old. At that point, I had, when I decided to go down this path to, and I want to share this, man, when I decided to go down this path of doing the show, I was traveling all over the US. My friends just kept saying, when are you going to do a show? When are you going to do a show? And then I finally caved and said, I'm going to do a show. But it wasn't about winning for me. I wanted to be in the best possible health of my life at 44. And I'm
Okay.
not just talking physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And when I started to prepare for this, after I hired these experts, I hired a naturopath, I hired a trainer, I hired a poser, I realized I was extremely happy all the time. And then as I do these core value assessments with these clients, and what I realized, it was the only thing in my life that nobody had control over. I want you to think about that, all of you. Your health, nobody has control over. It's all decisions that you can make that are within your realm of control. And that's the power. Your thinking, you have control over your attitude, your disposition, the choices, your action steps. And so I was fascinated because I had created these non-negotiables about my time, and I wasn't going to let anything in. I was committed to this 16-week journey before my first show and 16 weeks before my second show. So I ended up winning multiple categories. That wasn't the game. But after I won, I stayed on this supplementation program. And I'm not talking about like supplements that Dave sells. I'm talking about these supplements that I learned later on that had all these toxins and stimulants in them.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what was happening except for this naturopath was highly effective or highly referred, highly affected, not at all, highly referred. And he worked with bodybuilders. I did a natural show. There were other even contestants that were on steroids. I won, and it was 100% natural show. But I was in all these, I had all these stimulants and all these chemicals. So I go 2 years later, fast forwarding, and that's when I contracted this autoimmune. What I didn't
Wow.
know is the gut, or depression and anxiety, is tied with the gut.
Yeah.
And I didn't have depression, but I had a tremendous amount of anxiety that I did not show. And for those of you that are parents, when your children have depression or anxiety, they often say, Mommy, my stomach hurts. Depression has elevated since March of 2020. There are more people on antidepressants, like 36% increase. Suicide is over the top. I can't even tell you the numbers of people that I don't know personally, the clients that people had committed suicide. And so this is a time in our world to get centered. And so during this journey, I ended up getting sick from, I would say, anxiety and supplementation in these radical meal plans. And I didn't know there was another way. If I were to meet you in the airport and we were having a conversation and you know what I did and I knew what you did, and you're getting ready to board and you're going, hey, give me some advice on my health. What should I do? And I said, it's simple. First, sweat every day. I'm in a sauna every day. And even in the stress level, sometimes I got to work till, 3 or 4 hours on a project, and I'm in the sauna. I can sweat, like fully sweat, like I'm saturated with sweat in 15 minutes. You can train your body how to sweat. You sweat externally, you sweat internally, and you sweat both. Internally means you drive the sweat through cardiovascular. Externally means you sweat from some source, like even like a supercharger bath or a sauna. And then Bikram yoga that I do twice a week would be both. Second, diminish sugar. There's 68 bar-coded ingredients that are disguised as sugar, and some of them have the most toxic, like they're worse than you taking a straight shot of 151. And then third, go green. You would not believe the recipes that you can create. Food can heal you. And there's stews. There are, I intermittent fasting. Like, I have my last meal about 7:30, and then I don't eat till 1 o'clock the next day, but I do have a nutrient smoothie that's full of sprouts and seeds. In fact, in our community, we have a philanthropic movement called the Body Temple Community. It's on Facebook. You can jump into Facebook, search Body Temple Community. And in the file section, you get to it through the more button. And in the file section, it is loaded with ebooks and vegan recipes, and even my Miracle Morning Ritual. I wrote an ebook on how I diminished anxiety and depression without drugs. And that was really my journey about 37, 38. And there's just so much information. Yeah.
This is your Facebook group?
Yes.
Fantastic. And we'll put a link to that, everyone listening. As a matter of fact, we'll have links to everything Steve does and in the show notes. So we'll make sure you can get into that group and download. I'm going to go there myself, Steve. That sounds terrific. Awesome. Now I want to get a little bit personal with you for a minute because of something you just said. I teach intermittent fasting as well.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for years myself. How much do you weigh?
I weigh 200 pounds exactly.
Okay. I'm 194. Okay. So, and I do a very similar schedule. I try to eat earlier. I found if I can be done by 6:30 at the latest, I try to be done by 6 and 6:30 at the latest, because I just found that extra hour for me. I feel better. Well, I hit the sack at about 10:30 or 11.
And you're listening to your body.
Yeah. So for me, it's that the longer I can have before I go to bed, the better I'm going to sleep, the better I'm going to feel. But my question for you is, one of the things I struggle with is on heavy days, right? So sometimes I have breakfast at 11, sometimes noon, sometimes 1. That fluctuates. Again, I do listen to my body. But we're on a similar track, right? Do you count calories? Because I have found that because of intermittent fasting and eating in a limited time window, sometimes I don't eat enough food.
That's an interesting question. Like, I used to get on the scale all the time. I always counted calories, and I haven't for years. And it's really an interesting question. I am pretty intuitive about my body. And when in doubt, especially when I feel like I want to grab something, I usually depend on the nut family. And by the way, the greatest nuts for you, the most boring nuts are walnuts, but they show up in my salads. And pecans.
I beg to differ. The greatest nut of all time is macadamias. No one can take that away from me.
I know the best nuts to eat, right? I know they do. I do. You're right. I'm like, oh, okay.
No, I get it. I'm not really arguing. I get your point. They're the healthiest. But agreed.
The thing is, I drink. I occasionally, I am not 100% vegan, very, very close. But what I have learned is how to offset that. And I think that's why we have so many clients that identify with me. I believe in customization, and that's what worked in my entrepreneur brand for 20 years. They would hire us because they wanted to build like a thriving multi-million dollar business. And we had this model that just worked, just to realize, oh, my marriage is getting better. My health is getting better. I'm having more fun in life. I'm learning leverage. And everything that I did was transcribed. So meaning I didn't coach, I didn't train them. I coached them on material. And what transpired in this brand with Lynn and I working together for so many years, and that's Quinn's mom, my ex, my best friend, we customized coaching for people. And what would happen through the offset is they would just create these extraordinary lives. And so getting back to like the ideal wellness plan, our mantra is make a decision, you're ready for change. Very close to 12-step. What are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of? And then second, it's create your ideal wellness plan. Well, it's confusing. There's a lot to it. It's simple in theory, but what people don't realize is, fun and recreation is a part of that. Food plan is a part of that. Beverage plan is part of that. Water is super important, especially for the colon. Like you don't even understand, many of you, how important hydration is to your colon. And to drink half your body weight in ounces is super important, but it's the source. There are plastic water bottles that are sitting in warehouses for up to a year. And that plastic is coming from China. It's toxic. And it doesn't mean you have to go out and buy a machine, but right around the corner or within miles are these high-end health stores, like grocery stores, like Natural Grocers or New Seasons. And they have these high-end water units. And the lucite, glass is best, but this lucite is super thick. It's like second best. And you can drink really great water. And third is shift your poor habits to ideal habits and notice your triggers. And that's the most important part, because what happens when you decide you're ready for change and you make the decision, what you don't realize is how the body is going to show up with its memory. And we've been given this gift of what's called the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is what I call the gift of freedom. We've been given free will. I don't ever hear anybody talk about it, but it's like the part of our body that I give the credit to God. Like it is this part of our body that scientists say, our mind, the frontal lobe, 40%, that has the ability, these scientists say it has the ability, if it was translated into megabytes, to be like billions of megabytes. And most human beings are operating from 2000. And the primal brain is like what animals have. And so when you can train your brain how to think, and we're alluding to that, Dave and I are alluding to that through meditation, through affirmation, through going through this process. And I think people, they just don't, and my mantra for that is enjoy the journey, stay in process. I will eventually arrive at my ideal outcome. When I go south of commitments, I recommit. And we've written a whole program on gut health, and it's complimentary. It's called our Kickstart Detox Plan.
Okay, hold that. I want to dive into this.
Sure, brother.
But I want to save it for kind of the end, because I want to back up.
Yeah.
I segued you a while back, and we dove into an area, but we left the alcohol. And I want to revisit that, because alcohol is something that many people think about. Many people want to drink less. And I'm interested and would like to hear you talk about just a little bit more, because first of all, from what you said, it didn't sound like you were an alcoholic or anything. You talked about having a glass of wine on a regular basis, which is not a deal breaker for health by any means. There's plenty of very healthy people who enjoy wine. And also there can be, the pendulum swings in health. And if we go too far and try to be too clean, it can create binge eating and swinging back and forth. And so,
dude, like no doubt, like it so can. And the truth is, it's often temporary to go narrow. And narrow is when you are ready to make a step up and you know you're sick, you're dealing with some health challenges, and that you can experience really enjoyable meals and experiences for a period of time. But I have always been proud that I haven't been on antidepressants, and I would choose alcohol over antidepressants any day. I'm not on any pharmaceutical drugs. I just never have been.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to be. But what I will
Yep.
tell you is that there have been times where what I don't like about alcohol is clarity and vitality is my highest value. And so it is non-negotiable for me never to drink during the week. I am not going to show up for a client that I do not have the highest form of clarity. And when I tell you clarity, can't believe the words that come out of my mouth. These clients will say, I can't believe what you just said. And I said, I don't really think it's me. I think I'm being a conduit for you. There's something that happens when if you want to rock life, you want to have an elevated state of clarity. But in the weekend, there's times where I've just had more alcohol than I wanted. But the next day, my ass is in the cardio machine. My ass is in the sauna. My
Okay.
ass is doing, I'm like
So
just getting rid of the toxins.
So you just hit a point. So you just hit a point where you needed to cut down. Do I understand right that you didn't cut it out completely? Do you still enjoy a glass of wine here and there, or
Oh
did
yeah,
you
I sure
decide?
do. But
Oh, okay.
it's not like
But
it was before going
okay.
back. Like
Okay.
the inflammation, inflammation is so slow. I mean, it's
Yeah.
such a slight edge. It's so slow. When I go back and thought I actually looked pretty good at 40, like when I think about after when I like about 46 when I got sick, my face was so swollen and it was like so slow how it happened over this period of
Mm.
time. Sometimes I get in my car after leaving the gym. I have an infrared sauna, but I sometimes just like to do it all at the gym. And my
Yeah.
regimen is I stretch. And sometimes for some of you that are listening, that is your regimen. When I'm talking about a fitness plan, people all say, I got to go to the gym. And I go, do you like going to the gym? No, I don't like going to the gym. We're going to find your ideal regimen. We're going to start
Yeah.
off slow.
Yeah.
We're going to start stretching. You're going to enjoy some walks. It's a long conversation, but I meet people where they're at. And what I can tell you, just sometimes after a long day, getting in my car, looking at the mirror after I'm leaving the gym and pretty much look like shit. I'm like, I can't believe how my eyes are popping. I can't believe the tone of my skin. I can't believe I'm in a sauna so often. These kids are like, youth are like, dude, wow, you're like ripped. Like, what do you do? And really, it's for mental health for me.
Okay. So on the alcohol, and I want to make it clear for everyone listening, I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink any alcohol. I'm a teetotaler.
Yeah.
And yet I don't necessarily teach that.
Yeah.
Because I'm also not an all or nothing health guy. And so
Mm.
that's the reason I wanted to flesh that out a little bit, Steve. I just want to kind of get
That's
where
few
you
and
were
far
coming
between
from.
for me. But when I do, I'll tell you why our wellness plan works. And we have this program called the Take Charge of Your Health, Body and Mindset Customized Coaching Package, 2 sessions. And in this plan, we call them specialty items. And I learned this from Brooke Costella, who owns the Life Coaching Institute. She wrote the greatest book I've ever read on alcohol called Stop Over Drinking. It
Okay.
is brilliant. And this
Ah,
is where I learned that. And what I want you to know is it came up in meditation years ago. And all of a sudden in my feed, my YouTube feed, this stuff, miracles happen every day. They're right in front of us. What you ask for, you end up getting. Ask and it will be given. And I remember listening to this YouTube video thinking, this is brilliant. She created a category for people that didn't exist, like over the top. But in that, I tell clients when they say, I know I shouldn't be eating bacon, but I have, like, it means something to me. My parents died. It was like our thing on Sunday. It goes under specialty items. When you tell yourself, okay, for the month, I'm going to afford myself, mine's 2 glasses of red wine once a month or twice a month. That's it.
okay. Okay.
So that's all I give myself permission. So you're making that decision in advance. You're
Yeah.
conscious about the decision and you're not going to give into the flight and fight part of you, which is the primal mind like animals have.
Do you do that with sugar, Steve? Do you allow yourself some sugary items, or are you
No,
kind of a
I am
zero?
more about, I could make you a chocolate mousse that would blow you away with essential oils and
Oh, wow.
really healthy sweeteners and avocados that
Okay.
you would mistake for sugar. And you're going to notice that in our Kickstart Detox, not only do you get the Kickstart Detox manual, you have access to the Body Temple shopping guide, toxic ingredients and chemicals to avoid. And you will have access to our vegan recipes. And there's, there is a life outside of what the American standard diet that is so healthy for you.
For
And it's
sure.
changing
Yeah,
your
for
mindset.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, well, Steve, this has been great, and I've already kept you longer than we planned by a little bit. But tell everyone how they learn more. You've already mentioned your Facebook group, and let's start with that. How do they find your Facebook group?
Facebook group, super easy. Jump on Facebook, search Body Temple Community, ask for approval. What's super cool is all of you will notice that there are lives and coaches will reach out to you. We started a very specific philanthropic movement, and we have many coaches, and we're here to help people get off the stands in the court, play the game of health, help them take these baby steps to elevate over a period of time. And then you're going to notice that the Kickstart Detox program, it's simple, bodytemplekickstart.com. If you're
Okay.
listening, can't remember, it will be in the show notes.
Yeah.
And if you think I'm halfway decent, you're going to be blown away over Lynn. She does the second step, which is all about how to create your ideal wellness plan. And it's this 15-day time frame for you to detox. But the sustainability of all this information is phenomenal. Like what you'll learn is it will become a lifestyle for you. So Kickstart or bodytemplekickstart.com. And you'll notice in this 15 days, we show you that you have two paths. The first path is the choices you make. And you'll see that we actually have 3 different programs, meaning it's complementary, but some of you are going to just dip your toes in detoxing and restoring your gut. Some of you want to go to the more transformation, and some of you are narrow. You need to go narrow, or you really want to elevate that. So you're going to notice that we have that all set up for you. And the second pathway is the products you take. Dave has extraordinary products, and also the experts that you choose, those wellness treatments, like maybe acupuncture or massage, that way, anything external that can support you. We have 3 products that are 100% chemical free. All I wanted to do is specialize in gut detox and
Right.
elevating the immune system. And so I just had a hard time I couldn't find a completely 100% chemical free product. So that I found a formulator and had it created for me way before I ended up making it a part of our brand.
Well, fantastic. And speaking of which, Steve, we'll be sending you a $100 gift certificate as a small thank you for being on our show. So you can get $100 worth of Nairobi products.
I want
And
to share you with our 70,000 followers, brother. I'm going to send this out to our followers because, yeah, your line's amazing. It's super amazing. You
oh,
really
thanks so much,
put some
Steve.
thought
And
into your line. Well done. I mean, come on. There's so much crap out there in supplementation. I could tell.
yeah,
Yeah,
there is. And I'm like you. I just wanted to find stuff that was of high quality in the right amounts and the right formulation without conflicts. People don't realize some of the stuff that's put in, even good quality supplements, is contradicting and counteracting
and
each
if it's
other.
super inexpensive, it's not really working. It is
Yeah.
an expensive process to create a high-end supplement. It is an expensive process.
Well, Steve, it has been fun to talk to you. I love your MO. I love the fact that you get the whole picture, right? Because too many times in the fitness industry, all we talk about is the physicality of fitness.
Mhm.
But the challenge is if we don't address where we're at spiritually, if we don't address where we're at socially and emotionally, the fact is we can sabotage our goals without even knowing that we're doing it. And I bump into this time and time again. I bump into it personally. It's a constant challenge, right? We're all human. We all have our weaknesses. It's a
We
constant,
gotta love ourselves through the
but
process.
we do. And we also have to be holistic. We can't treat ourselves like a meat machine.
Mm-mm.
There's a lot more to it. And I love the fact that you're not afraid to put yourself out there and talk about these really important underlying principles that are critical to manifesting great health. It's a great message.
Yeah, my clients love when I talk about my challenges, especially when it comes to mindset. Can I leave you with one thing?
I'd love for you to take the mic and leave us with a closing thought.
I have two questions I love to ask people when they're going through health challenges. My second favorite question is, tell me about your ideal health. 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I stay with them. Tell me more. What else? How about this? What would it feel like? What would it look like? But my very favorite question to ask them is, what don't you want to deal with in 3, 5, 10? If you could have the worst diagnosis that would make life worth not living and bearable, what would be the worst diagnosis? It's so easy to think in this short time that we have that our bodies are going to be sustainable to the end. And there's more sick people per capita in America, North America, than any other place in the world. We are being manipulated by big pharma, by doctors that just don't know any better, by media, by entertainment, that by God on Friday, I deserve to have my 5 cocktails and my deep fried food. But your family is affected by your choices. The people around you are affected, your career, your finances. I mean, one badass doctor or excuse me, hospital bill or some challenging disease can just ruin your life.
Right.
You want to think long haul. You want to think like Betty White. Betty White I followed for years, and because she became a mentor for me around joy, and she sustained her life and health and beauty and joy and vitality for 99 years. Fast forward, make choices today that affect the life that you live tomorrow.
That is outstanding. Thank you so much, Steve. It's taken us a few months to make this happen, and it's totally worth it.
You're awesome, buddy. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. And make sure and approve me in your group. I'm going to come and,
Well,
and try to get in.
I would love to have you come in the group, and it's a new group. It's growing. We've got a lot going on. It's pretty super, but I would love to have you come in and do a live. Yeah, we should bring this with our list. Definitely.
I will come on in. I'm looking forward to it. And it's great to finally connect with you. And for those of you listening, this is Dave Sherwin wishing you health and success.